What's up, everybody? Mark, your metal vocal coach, here to teach you how to go safely and efficiently. And today I'm excited to talk to you about Periphery. I've never done any vocal analysis of Periphery on the channel before, never done it. And that's kind of a strange thing because Periphery is a great band. I like them quite well. And Spencer is a lovely guy. I was lucky enough to hang out with him up in the University of Utah when we were doing the first, I guess, technically the first wave of that vocal study, that extreme metal vocal study that the Charismatic Voice is kind of spearheading and overseeing. And so it's always fun to talk about bands where you know the members, or at least one of the members, that they're cool dudes. And also, like, these guys are a lot different than what we normally cover. Here on the channel, I'm mostly focused on teaching you how to do like this really deathcore, death metal stuff, right? And Periphery, like Spencer just has like this beautiful gritty tone that I love. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about a little bit later in the video. This video sponsor Hears. They sent me these amazing earbuds that work quite well. I actually put them to the test. That was part of the conditions of the sponsorship. I said, hey, I got to make sure these actually work. But we'll talk about that in a second. Let's go ahead. I'm just too excited. Let's go ahead. Let's check out Everyone Dies Alone by Periphery. Here we go. And yes, I know everybody in the chat, they're always like, oh, but you can use the keyboard. But I never remember what the last window I clicked was. So I might push the button on the wrong thing. Anyway, here we go.
Seems to come to this, the end of joyful ignorance. Drop everything that I have and go. Half asleep behind the wheel, not sure what I'm supposed to feel. Still holding on to the life we know. Give me all your pain, alright. Your fear was where you lay. My never-ending rage is gonna take it all away.
So let's go ahead and let's pause it there. I mean, obviously I know Spencer screams, right? But I was not expecting it to come in with that punch. So one thing I really like, you know, again, I've never talked about him on the channel, but I kind of want to take a moment to talk to you about part of the reason I think Spencer is a very good vocalist is because he's very smart, right? He makes a lot of smart choices with his singing. Now, you know, what does that mean? What am I talking about? Smart choices. I'm not just talking about technique, although he's got excellent technique. But at the beginning of the song, it's so soft, right? The beginning of the song is so soft and it's beautiful and it's inviting. We've got these really cool little, I think they're snare rolls, right? That have like this percussive but soft sound to them, right? We've got these riffs that are chunky, but they're not like, you know, gong, gong, right in your face. They've got a little bit of like, da-na-na, like hop skips and stuff. So as a vocalist, like, where do you sit? That's a question you have to ask yourself. Where do you sit when you're going to be singing on a section like this? Do you lean into the hard, right? The heavy of the guitars, or do you lean into the soft composition, the light drum rolls, the fact that the melody is kind of dreamy, right? And so Spencer, I think one great thing about a lot of his voice is that he can occupy both worlds at the same time. So I actually want to go back a little bit, and I want you to notice that he uses a lot of glottal onsets. He's a lot of every time I done So he's got like a punchiness to his voice, but it's not an attack, right? And he does a lot of like up into the front of the face. So there's this, it's kind of similar to the drums and the guitar. There's a little bit of punchiness. It's percussive, maybe is the better word for it, but still soft. His tone is very soothing, very calm, right? The chords aren't super pressed together to like do all these crazy, like powerful vocal techniques that he'll be doing later, right? Instead, it's soft. Let's listen to this again. I want you to keep that in mind, right? Because I'm not just here to go, wow, I'm here to teach you something. So let's check it out.
Seems to come to this, the end of joyful ignorance.
The end of joyful ignorance. And do you hear a It's almost like there's this sound that I use. Again, I don't teach a lot of this kind of stuff. I do sometimes. Most of the time I teach like the heavier, more extreme side of things. But we still need to learn how to be able to place our voice in specific ways that you hear a lot in rock and pop. And there's a sound that I like to use called the cat poo noise, right? And it's because you imagine you come home and like your cat, I don't have a cat. I wish I could, but I'm allergic. You imagine that your cat has like, you know, come home, or you come home and your cat has like pooped or coughed up a hairball on your pillow and you go, and you look for that feeling of vibration. And I'm on uneven reins. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So it's a good way to kind of place your voice. I don't have the melody memorized, so I'm not going to try. But just kind of listen to that slight glottal onset, into the front of the face, but still rounded in the mouth. Soft. There's a lot of really good balance that matches the song so well here. Check it out.
Everything that I have and go. Half asleep behind the wheel, not sure what I'm supposed to feel. Still holding on to the life we know.
Even his aspirate onset, that H, haven't done ha. There's a little bit of soft percussiveness to it. Very cool. Very, very cool.
Give me all your pain, hooray! Your fear of where you lay. My never-ending rage is gonna take it all away. Give me your hand, I'll hold it while I can. Experiencing something I will never understand.
Now, his screams, I'm not even going to really go for it because it's so different from how I scream. You know, in a lot of my videos here on the channel, I'll give you examples of what the vocalist is doing, or if I was doing something similar, how I would do it. This is very different from what I do, but I can still talk to you a lot about it and why it's impressive, especially as someone to me who does something kind of different. I'm slightly across the aisle. The first thing about this, and this is kind of similar in a way, it's a different scream, but it's similar to what I talked about in the video I did of Mafra's cover of Doom recently, which is that we hear this grit, we hear the voice lifted, but we don't hear, right? So one of the things that makes harsh vocalization so difficult and vocalists like Spencer so impressive is that there are strategic places where we add resistance to airflow, right? That's essentially what we're doing when we are creating speech sounds, when we're phonating, which means creating speech sounds. So a little bit redundant, I suppose. We are at some point in our vocal space resisting airflow. There are exceptions to this, of course, like if you were to go, is that a speech sound? If it's used for communication, debate in the comments below. But even if I go, nay, my vocal cords are gently releasing or resisting the airflow, right? And so what we have when we're doing a lot of harsh vocalization, right, is we have strategic places where we are resisting. Like if I do something, this is not the same scream that he's doing, but it's a similar principle. If I do something kind of pitched and high, very goblin-y, you know, right? If I do something like that, what I have is a lot of closure above the vocal cords, especially up in the top back of the mouth, right? And so the ability to do that and switch between the cleans and switch between the grit and keep the grit high up is really impressive. I remember when we were in the, doing the studies. Now I can't speak too directly about the results of the study because I ain't even seen them yet, but I was lucky enough to be in the room with him while he was doing a lot of his screams, right? And sometimes one debate that you see come up a lot with metal vocalization is how loud. How loud should screams be? Well, it depends on the type of scream, but I'm gonna tell you this, Spencer is loud. Like Spencer, his voice is so, but I'll tell you what it is. It's loud from projection and balance and flow. You know, it's crazy, you know, when you're in the room with him, when you're seeing, there's so much, his full body is thrown into it. Yet from what they told me and from what I saw, there was so much balance in his voice. Now, when we're starting to learn these techniques, we don't want to rely too much on loudness. We don't want to rely too much on that. We want to focus on balance and placement, right? Let's go ahead and keep going here, but keep that in mind. Oh. There were so many sick color and tone and timbre changes in his screams. We got a more like voiceless, you know, almost kind of false chordy sounding thing when he dropped low. We had these big aggressive tones, and you know, so much of this, so much of the power in Spencer's voice and in the power of our voice comes from our support, right? Comes from our core control, right? And that's a difficult concept to understand, right? When we hear Spencer screaming here, and again, like I have not known this man for his whole career. I can only speak to what I hear and what I saw briefly. When we think about this, we really need to understand a concept of screaming from the diaphragm or screaming from the gut, right? Screaming from your abdomen. And that falls under the category of what I call a vocal coach vagism. And as a vocal coach, yes, I am aware that that's kind of, you know, a self jab, but a vocal coach vagism is a fact that is true, but doesn't make any sense without context. It makes literally no sense. So let me give you some context as to what I'm saying, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to go like this, right? While you're watching this video, I know you're probably washing dishes or something. That's how I watch YouTube videos. I'm always doing something, but briefly, you know, stop washing the dishes or dusting the surfaces or whatever. Look at your second monitor and do this for me. Go like you're studying. You're behind on your coursework. You may get a little bit of an accidental lip roll, but I don't want you to make a lip roll, okay? Now I want you to make a lip roll. So you're gonna go. Now this doesn't have to be a perfect lip roll. In fact, I kind of want it to be messy. So we have two sounds. We have, and then we have. Now, there are a couple ways that you could have created this lip roll. You could have tightened up your lips, but I want that loosey-goosey, flarpy, kind of farty sounding lip roll. Do them both side by side and ask yourself what the difference was. For me, and likely for a lot of you, I didn't do anything with my mouth. I didn't do anything with my throat. My gut increased its activation, right? I kind of felt like I was pushing out a fart a little harder, right? So my activation of my abdominal muscles, which displaced pressure in my abdomen up underneath my diaphragm, thus driving out air, caused my lips to roll. So there is a direct correlation that can sometimes be hard to connect as a new vocalist. You know, you hear vocal coaches say, breathe from your diaphragm, and you're like, I thought that's the only way to breathe. I thought you had to use your diaphragm to breathe. I'm so confused. This is what we're talking about, right? No activation, more activation. And that is where you're going to get so much of your volume from. Like I said, Spencer is an incredibly loud screamer in many places, but it comes from a place of balance and support. And I can only imagine how loud they would be live. And actually, that is an incredibly good segue to, again, talk about real quick, just briefly, but I do want to talk to you about this video's sponsor, Hears. So if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that I almost never take sponsors. It almost never happens. And the reason for that is because I want to believe in the product and I want to make sure it makes sense for you. There are a lot of products that I have passed on because you as a musician aren't going to care about it. It's not going to make a lot of sense for you. But one thing that's really important is your hearing. Especially for me as a vocal coach and a vocalist, a musician myself, if I can't hear, I cannot do my job. And the thing about hearing loss is it's a big deal. You need to take it seriously. So when I got reached out to by Hears and I had a concert coming up, I just this past weekend saw Electric Callboy on their world tour. I was like, this is the perfect place for me to try it out. And they were awesome. They sent me again 2 pairs. This was the pair that I wore of their earbuds. And I said, I want to make sure that they work first, and then I'll do your sponsorship and then I'll try it out. And I'm happy to report that it worked great. I even got some footage of me using them in real time. All right, I'm headed to Electric Callboy. It's gonna be loud. I'm bringing my Hears to keep my hearing safe. Let's see how they do. All right, so I'm at Electric Callboy. I'm excited to try out Hears ear protection. I gotta keep my hearing safe, so I'm about to pop these bad boys in, and we're gonna
to see how they perform. Here we go.
Here's ear protection kept my ears safe in that environment, and it's going to keep being that way because I'm sold. I'm going to be continuing to use Hears for years to come. You know, a lot of people, I go to these shows and I see them not wearing hearing protection, and that's a problem. I think that so many people think that hearing loss is just, oh, well, things will sound a little different, or, oh, you know, things will sound quieter, but that's not the case. We lose access permanently to certain frequencies. Hearing loss is something that, you know, if it happens to you, may never go away. It's something you're stuck with. You lose access to hearing the dynamics of the world around you. So please keep your hearing safe, and you can put your trust in Hears for that. They have a high fidelity attenuation filter that reduces sound evenly across all frequencies, and second eardrum technology that doesn't simply block the noise. A small membrane vibrates just like your actual eardrum, increasing fidelity and keeping the music crisp. You know, I've used those little foam earbuds before, the ones that you just sort of roll up and stick in your ear. Those, for me and in my experience, they lose their springiness, they fall out. Same with other like high-end brands of ear protection. You put them in, I don't really notice a difference in how they impact the sound of the music in the environment that I'm in. But these little earbuds, I'm going to tell you, they're lightweight. They obviously don't lose their shape because they're made well. And I noticed the biggest difference when comparing these to other earbuds. These seemed to do the best at negating the pain that my ears would go through while also keeping the sound awesome. I was still able to enjoy the music. I turned down a lot of sponsors if I don't believe in the product, or I don't think that it works, if I don't think it'll bring a lot of value to you. But if you want to protect your hearing, and spoiler, you do want to protect your hearing, check out Hears. You will not regret it. It's worth the money. You're going to get value. Click the link in the description or the pinned comment below for 10% off your first order. All right, let's get back to the music. Yo, that was sick.
Drifting off to the void, find peace in nothingness. Not a sight, not a sound, dust is all that's left. Drifting off to the void, find peace in nothing, 'cause everyone dies alone.
Very soulful at the end there. You know, that instrumental section in the middle, I love anything that has any element of like these asynchronous, syncopated rhythms. You know, this is my first time hearing it, so I can't like repeat it back to you perfectly, but like the guitars of this like that was just like perfectly aligned with, but beautifully contrasting what was going on. The first time I ever realized how much I loved that was at the end of Cerebral Hybridization, I think it was, Fallujah, from their album Harvest Wombs. At the end, they have this something like that. I don't remember exactly how. I haven't listened to that album in years, but I was like, "Oh, this tickles my brain. This tickles my brain." Now, I want to talk to you a little bit more about vocal technique. And I love that like Spencer basically in the last like minute did all the stuff he's good at. Just like, boom, oh, I'm going to switch to head voice. Oh, I'm going to go full chord connection. Oh, here's some grid. Oh, you want like soulful soft singing? There you go, bud. It was just like moving, pa, 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 pa. And, I think oftentimes in the metal vocal world, we use vocal acrobatics as an insult. And I wish I've done that. Well, I don't think I've ever outright insulted anybody on my channel. I keep that for when the camera's turned off. No, but even I've used it as a bit of like a negative, and I kind of wish I hadn't done that because this is so acrobatic and it's so good too, right? This is a really good example of where a lot of times harsh vocalists or vocalists who want to increase harsh techniques into their clean technique will run into difficulties, right? Because if you listen to Spencer's voice, it is trained in a very, very, very specific way, right? Now, strangely enough, I didn't ask him this when we were in Utah. This seems like a question I would have. I don't know if he has a lot of like professional training, like taking vocal lessons, classical training, contemporary, I don't know, or if he's self-taught. But his voice has been built in a very specific way to make very specific sounds, right? Very specific sounds. Very bright. His vocal tract shape is essentially an EQ that's meant to boost high end frequencies. Boom, right? Like this built-in like EQ. And this is something that I think is really important for people to understand, is that where you are in your vocal journey will dictate, and not only that, but also your inherent like just anatomy will kind of dictate how easy this is for you. One thing we run into a lot in the metal vocal world, especially in the harsh vocal world, is we assume that any harsh vocal technique is a recipe, is an equation, that if I plug in the right numbers, I'm going to get the right result. And that's just not true. Part of the reason I scream so differently than Spencer, and this is something I was when I first started doing these reaction videos, I was very self-conscious actually. Like it really bugged me that there were sometimes vocalists that like I just was not going to be able to replicate what happens. But we can't all be Anthony Vincent, you know what I mean? But part of the reason I can't just like bust out a Spencer Sotelo scream is because A, I'm baritone as heck, but B, I have spent almost 20 years focusing more on like, monstery and clean singing. That's more like, honestly, like Disney-ish. Like you can go if you listen to Kardashev, a lot of people say that I sound kind of like a Disney prince. And I kind of like that a lot, actually, when I sing. So what I want to express to you is that this is not me telling you that if you have gone a different direction on your vocal journey, or that you can't sing or scream like him, or that if you are a bass or kind of like weighty baritone like me, you can't do it. But it does mean that you'll have to maybe think of like a longer journey, right? Vocal tract shape is muscle. Okay. When we move the shape of our vocal tract around, it's muscle, it's coordination, right? If I take a high scream and I switch it with my clean voice, so you can better hear the shape of my vocal tract and where my pitch is sort of placed. Check this out. Right? It sounds crazy, and it's not built to be a beautiful singing voice. It's built to supplement monstery screaming. But when I first started doing high screams, like I couldn't hit those notes. And again, I'm not hitting that note right now. If I was going to sing clean, I would not hit it that way, but I'm up there comfortably, right? So when you're trying to learn this sort of stuff, what I want you to think about is what can you do? What can you do? And I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what you can do. I'm going to give you a little exercise. This is more of an exploratory exercise. This is less of a push these buttons to get this result exercise, but I want to show you something. This is because most of what I do is built on false chord beginnings. False chord beginnings. There's some stuff I do that's not false chord stuff, but this is, right? So you have to have kind of one or two sounds to get started, and they don't have to be great. You can have Kargria, and again, this is not how to sing like Spencer. This is how to use a technique similarly to him that you can then over time build towards what he does, right? But this is not a Spencer Sotelo scream. This is for people who are starting, right? You either need Kargria or you just need kind of like a hey, 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 that's it, right? And you want it to feel upwards, right? Upwards. So assuming you've got that base level of distortion, right? What you're going to do is you're just going to cry. That's it. You're just going to cry when you do it. Hey, hey, oh my God. I'm so sad. I'm so sad. Right? And let that take a long time, but your goal is to take this distortion, right? If you're starting with the Kargria, move it up. I'm so sad. Or if you just have the grunt, I'm so sad. Up in your face, get quacky, get twangy. I'm so sad. I don't know what to do. Yeah, right. And it's not going to sound beautiful, but it'll sound comfortable. And that's the first thing you should be caring about. If you're a brand new vocalist and you're learning to do things, you should focus on feeling comfortable. You have grit, you have pitch, but you feel comfortable. And then over time, you can shape that into something else. Anyway, I'm on my soapbox. I need to hop off of it. But really cool song. The second half of any song is usually my favorite, but man, after that instrumental break with all those cool things, I only have one complaint, and it's not even about the song, it's YouTube, right? We all know that Periphery has beautiful, I'm not alone in saying this, but Periphery has beautiful production. Their mix is just, I think it's always stellar. And YouTube is compressing the heck out of it. And I don't like it. I don't like that you do that, YouTube. Stop squashing everything. No more. I'm kidding. I know they have to. But beyond that, excellent work. Great job to Spencer and the guys in Periphery. We recently did Mafro. We recently did some other stuff. I think in the next video, we're going to have to get kind of back to my neck of the woods, getting a little bit more, something a little bit heavier. But beyond that, thank you for watching. Check out Here's. They really work. Good job. Keep it up. We'll talk soon. Wait, that's not my sign off. Many thanks, much love. I'm out. Jesus Christ.